and welcome to Senior Speak New Hampshire on your Concord TV, sponsored by AARP. I am Karen Almer-Dorsch, the producer host of this program, and I'm also a volunteer for AARP. And thank you, viewers, for being with us today. I want to take a moment to remind viewers that my mission for this program is to invite guests who inform and educate our 50+ of the many resources and the services available to us that can help us continue to be active and engaged in our communities once we have left or are about to leave the workforce. Too often, I encounter people who are unaware of all the services and the resources available to them, even though they may be familiar with some aspects of an organization. Take, for example, AARP. There are many people who think that AARP is just discounts and insurance. But if they only went to the online resources for AARP, they would find that we are so much more than that. And I suspect that that's true for Easterseals as well. And I'm going to use myself as an example. I receive the delightful stamps every year along with the request for my donation, and I happily paste those little stamps on the envelopes to my friends and my family as I send Easter greetings. And that's about all I knew about Easterseals. Does that sound familiar? And that was because I didn't take time to read the literature that came with it. Well, let me tell you, after I met Lori Duff, I discovered what a wealth of services Easterseals offers that I was totally unaware of. And I am happy to say now I am aware, and I want viewers who were like I to experience the same discovery I had. So I have asked Lori to be our guest today. She is the director of the senior services at Easterseals, and I think it was last May, she was appointed by Governor Sununu to be on the state's Commission of Aging. Lori is a social worker who holds a master's degree in business, and she has 34 years of experience in the aging service field. It is with great pleasure and gratitude that I welcome Lori as my guest today. And please, Lori, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for having me. It's just such a delight to be here with you. I have, as you said, been in the aging field a long time, and I think it all started from having an amazing grandmother. And an amazing grandmother who was just so rich in family and compassion and stories, and it just really inspired me to honor her and to move in those footsteps of taking care of and watching out for and advocating for and building services for older adults. So I've worked in the field of acute care, hospitals, worked in home care, I've worked in hospice, I've worked in adult day programs. So, yeah.
Oh, that's grand. So, how long has Easterseals been in the community, and how long have they been serving older adults?
Easterseals has been around for 87 years.
87 years?
87 years.
Wow.
Yes. And in New Hampshire here, we've been providing senior services for almost 40 years.
4 years?
40.
40
years.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So how can some of the programs of Easterseals help an older adult and potentially their family members as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, Easterseals is a community of care, which to us means that we serve people of all ages, of all abilities. And so, for example, if we see a veteran that might be 88 years old, and he might need someone to come into his home and help him in and out of the shower, we can do that. if he happens to live with a son who might have some issues with substance abuse, we can help with that. Maybe he has a great granddaughter who needs childcare. We can help with that. So we kind of, we have a lifespan of services available for all ages.
Okay, so how does a person access those services, and do they pay?
Yes, so they can access those services by, there should be a number on the screen.
Okay.
It's 603-623-8863 here in New Hampshire, and we can point you in the right direction. Also, our website, eastersealsnh.org.
Okay.
And as far as payment, there's a variety of different services with a variety of different funding sources. So
Okay.
we certainly raise money to help individuals, but we have relationships and contracts with all different providers, insurances and so forth.
Okay. All right. One of the programs that you provide for older adults is an adult day program. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Adult Day is an amazing option for people who want to continue to remain in the community, stay active, or be living at home. So Adult Day, we have 14 Adult Day programs in, not Easterseals, but there are 14 Adult Day programs in New Hampshire. We have two. We operate two programs, and there are over 6,000 Adult Day programs in the nation.
I guess the adult day program. Can you give me an idea of a typical day, or how does that work?
Sure. So my mom, who's 81 years old,
Yeah.
and if she were at home alone, and maybe I was working, and I was concerned about her being home all day alone, and she needed some more interaction or just something to do with her day, I would make arrangements at the Adult Day program to have her come maybe 3 days a week.
Okay, so there's a building, or there's a place that she would
It's
go.
a community-based program. So yes, they are in buildings throughout the nation. They might be in hospitals, they might be in long-term care, they might be in freestanding buildings. We have two freestanding buildings, one in Manchester and one in Rochester. And so we have transportation. So this is how a typical day might be. So we send a bus to go pick up my mom. And she comes into the program. She comes in and she has coffee. She sees her friends, and then we might start doing some physical activity. So we do lots of evidence-based programs, such as the Walk with Ease program through the Arthritis Foundation. So maybe we start with that. We have a schedule of activities. So it's a set program. It's a schedule of activities. There's a nurse available. If there's any medical issues that we need to attend to, or if maybe she's not able to administer her own medication while she's there, we can do that for her. We provide a really large noontime meal, and we have more activities in the afternoon as well.
Okay, so now you said you have two individual residents or so?
Yes,
is that right?
We have a program in Manchester at our Auburn Street facility, and then we also have a program in Rochester.
Okay, but you also said there were 44. How many?
There are 14 adult day programs in New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire,
all managed by other programs.
Okay, and those, because I recall having someone tell me about the adult day. In fact, AARP was very interested in the adult day programs, but I remember, I think it was before COVID, a number shut down, or we lost some.
Yes.
So I just assumed we just still had just two, but that's not the case.
No, we did, the adult days nationally took a big hit during COVID, and we did have to shut down. We shut down at Easterseals in the adult day arena for 6 months. And so we flipped our services into home care to take care of those people that were coming to our adult day in the home. So we typically, pre-COVID, we were taking care of anywhere 180 upwards per week individuals that would come out of their home
Yeah.
to come during the day, spend the day, and go home and sleep in their own bed at night.
Uh-huh. And so now, about how many do you have?
We're working our way back up. Yeah, we're working our way back
Great.
up.
I'm so excited to know
Yes,
that,
yes.
because I thought that was such a marvelous program, and people really loved it, but it wasn't available. But it
Right.
yay,
Yay, we're
it's
back.
coming back.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's really terrific. Okay, so what are the most prevalent issues you're facing today?
I think as far as the older adults that we see, both in the home and in the adult day arena as well, I would say is social isolation. We hear that word. We've been hearing that word a lot since COVID. I mean, it certainly was evident pre-COVID as well, but we're seeing a lot of that. We see, and it's a very serious issue.
Yeah,
it's a very serious issue with health implications. I've heard it said that, research has shown that someone with social isolation, the physical impact of social isolation, is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Indeed, it is. I've quoted
So-
that on the show before,
Yes,
because
yes.
it's terrifying
It is.
what isolation and social, exclusion is for people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's been research that there's cardiac issues related to it, sleeping issues, just
Eventual death can be. I mean, and I must say that is a concern. That's one of the biggest concerns I have. I have a sister who lives in an assisted living facility, but she is not getting out of her room and engaging with people. And it is a constant worry to me about what that's doing to her, because it can be really devastating.
Yes. I think, if you can address the social isolation issue, you're also addressing giving people a sense of purpose. Everyone needs connection with people, whether they're loners or not. They still need to be with people
Right.
Occasionally.
Right.
And so that's what we try to do, at our adult day program, and even in our in-home program. We want to make sure people know how much they're valued, how important they are, and that we care about them.
Right, right. Well, it's extremely important that they know that. Okay, so isolation, other issues, other.
I would say, there's with a high amount of people with cognition issues, memory issues. We have a separate program in our adult day program for folks that might have more advanced cognitive issues. And so we devise programs and activities for individuals that are living with Alzheimer's or related dementia, so that they can have success throughout the day as well, and a sense of purpose, and interact with people and so forth, and not spend the day at home looking at four walls and the same TV show all day. So it's a great way to either maintain their memory loss, so not getting worse on a downward spiral quickly, but to really help kind of maintain.
Right. That's the
their
reason
cognition.
my sister is where she is because of her short-term memory, which is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How do you help family caregivers that are caring for an older adult?
Well, with every older adult that we serve, there's usually one of those invisible caregivers in the background.
Right.
Not always. We certainly have folks that don't have any caregivers at all.
Yeah.
But we come alongside of them, and we support them where they're at. We teach them, we coach them. We want to be partners in care with them, because we don't want them to walk off the job. They're so important. I mean, the numbers. There's 168,000 caregivers in New Hampshire. We need to take care of them. We need to lift them up, and we need them to feel supported. And that's what we try to do. We support them with education, not too much, just enough, what they need at this moment.
Right.
And then as things, if things progress, we'll bring out the support and education, at that time as well, whatever the case may be.
Right.
We just want to be partners in care with them. We think that's so
Right.
important, that they feel that we're extended family in all of our services.
Right. Okay, so I know you have a slide that has a list of things that you do. Can you kind of go through those for me?
Sure. So Easterseals, as I mentioned, there's several different lines of business that we do, and I mentioned a few of those, such as our service to veterans, our service to individuals with substance.
Yeah, tell me about the service to veterans.
Service to veterans is a program called Veterans Count. And basically, it's a service that we provide to veterans and their families, whether or not they are eligible for VA benefits, and as long as they swore to the flag, and whether they were dishonorably discharged or however they were discharged, we provide hope and services to them in the way of care coordination, helping find housing, helping with substance use, food. I need a mattress, help paying the rent, help getting a job, all those kinds of things. We have licensed social workers and care coordinators that help with those services.
Okay. So move on to some other.
Yep. So we also have some of our senior programs would be things we have already discussed, the Adult Day program. We have in-home care. We also have care coordination, which is just a very specialized program, but it's really for people who, women specifically, due to a grant that we have called the Mary Gale Foundation by the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. And it's a grant to help serve older women in the greater Manchester area who are falling through the cracks. And what I mean by that is they're ending up in the emergency room and no one even knew they existed. So really kind of wrapping services around them and helping to lift them up in the community as well. We also have, we work very closely with ServiceLink. ServiceLink is in our building at Auburn Street. Right. And so we're helping to support a whole host of caregivers through that service as well. The information and referral system, Medicaid, Medicare, kind of whatever, whatever somebody needs to know in order to continue to keep someone living in the community.
So my question there is, when I was in Florida, I happened to be at a place and ran into a woman and told her that I volunteered for AARP. And she immediately wanted to know and was very concerned about older women who needed somebody to advocate for them. And she had no idea whether she thought that didn't exist. But what I'm hearing from you is that Easterseals has that here in New Hampshire. Would they have it in all states, or?
I don't know the answer to that. Okay. I suspect that you would need to investigate and dig a little bit deeper in some of those states to try to figure out what it is that they have for older adults. I'm not familiar. With that.
Because she was extremely upset that she does tutoring, and she was so upset to run into all of these older women who were at a total loss about everything. And so, she was really wanting somebody who advocated for those women. Right. And I told her that I would delve into it and look, so I will tell her to look into her Easterseals.
That's right.
Okay, so other programs that you...
we also have 2 childcare programs in Manchester, and those give us the opportunity for our older adults to do intergenerational programs, which is always a win-win. So we invite the children, or we go down into the children's center with our older adults, and we just have a ball with the kids, and the older adults have a great time. They forget that they've got hip pain or whatever it might be, or that they're, sad that day or whatever. They just have a great time. We bring animals in, pet therapy, and
Okay, and now you say this is in Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
Is that available in the state elsewhere, that particular program?
Intergenerational?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say there's a program in Hudson that is actually an adult day program in the high school.
Okay.
So there's an intergenerational, a little bit older, of course, but there's an intergenerational program that's like sits right in the high school. So that's an interesting model as well. We used to have here in New Hampshire, we used to have an adult day in a nursing home. Not Easterseals, but that model existed. There used to also be one located at the hospital. So there's just all different kinds of models that an adult day.
So what I'm hearing here, and I don't know whether I'm getting it right or not, but I'm hearing that Manchester is the center for Easterseals. But if somebody in North Conway needed something, or so, how do they go about?
If they can call for Easterseals, they can call that same number. There are, Easterseals offices in a lot of areas in New Hampshire and in the communities, and it depends on what that community gap was and how we decided to fill it in those areas as to what those services are in those areas. So we have adult day in Manchester and Rochester, but not in North Conway.
All right.
We have childcare in Manchester, but not in Rochester. So it really,
I see. Okay. We just have a few minutes left. Are there any other things you want to add before I shut us down?
I would just say, if the viewers that are listening, if they are not sure, if they just became a caregiver last night and don't know what to do or where to start, give us a call. We may not be able to, we may not provide that service, but we can certainly help connect them.
Okay.
But also I would encourage, just going back to the adult day, I just would encourage you. A lot of people will say, oh, my mom's not a joiner, or my dad would never do that. And those are the people that have the most fun at adult day.
Yes.
For sure.
Lori, I thank you so much for being my guest. And viewers, I hope that you have discovered all of the benefits that you or someone you know may want to have with Easterseals. And until the next time, I would encourage you to be good, do good, be one.